to work with the end user to refine and develop products rather than spend their time in the lab trying to develop a product for the industry, so to speak.
Right.
Because it's the applications are fragmented.
Yes.
The uses, and it's tough to for a big company with limited resources to develop a universal product because one doesn't exist.
Yes, I agree. That's the key. It is tough to have this economy of scale. But apparently there is a void here. I can see, right? And right now, most of the technology advance in the mold release is formulation, tweak the formulation, right?
Yes, and there's certain tricks that are universal, and it allows the formulator to use those to meet the needs of the end users.
Yeah.
I mean, I've used the term slip. There are so many mold applications where the product just doesn't want to drop out of the mold without scuffs and defects.
Right.
So the thing that's done is you put in a little bit of a slip aid.
Yeah.
It's not part of the release, but it's used to get the part out of the mold.
And it worked. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But there still has to be the barrier between the metal or the plastic mold or the silicone rubber mold and the resin.
Right.
And the further you can get that solubility parameter difference, the better the mold release is going to be.
Yes. Yes.
And those are basics.
Yes. That's
and then the rest becomes a mold specific modification.
Right.
or a resin specific modification.
Right. Yeah, so now I think that we talked about this is really the dilemma, right? We don't know, does it worth our effort or time to spend R&D money to first, this problem is not well defined. I mean, there is a fundamental, the barrier, but then different material, different resin. I mean, there's a lot of question marks, right? Before we spend the money, spend the people. Work on this. There's a reason that Dow Corning and Wacker and Momentive, they stopped doing any R&D or application work in this area. I guess they probably also did their due diligence. They realized that this is a very, very difficult area to get their return for investment. What do you think?
Somebody like a Dow Corning and a Momentive have 40 years of product development behind them.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a catalog of potential products that they can send out to solve problems.
Yeah.
And it depends on what the end user wants. Now, second-tier silicone companies don't have that knowledge base. But there's a caveat here. All of the people that knew how to use those different solutions to the problem no longer exist in the companies anymore. Exactly.
That's the key. No, I maybe in Dow Corning, in Blue Star, or in Momentive, there are nobody knows, right? There maybe the company is left with a catalog. That's it. The catalog doesn't tell you a lot of story, behind the
no.
table.
Here's an example of what I talked about, that the end user knows more. Dow Corning formed a company called Diameter.
Yes.
And the reason they formed Diameter in 2000 was the absolute recognition that the end user knows more.
Oh.
And they don't need somebody to hold their hand to tell them what product to use.
Okay.
All they want is a truckload of material delivered to their dock on Thursday afternoon.
Yeah.
So what they did was they formed an arm's length company, which was Diameter.
Mm-hmm.
4 guys from Dow Corning had to leave Dow Corning. They had to give up their pension at Dow Corning and leave
Wow.
to start Diameter, so that it was a true arm's length deal.
Okay.
And Diameter bought from Dow Corning at a fixed margin, and they resold the products in bulk.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they did was truckloads when you wanted them,
Right.
sort of thing.
Right.
Diameter, at the time that the business was sold to Dow Chemical,
Yeah.
Diameter was making up over 60% of the sales margin for Dow Corning.
Wow. Do you think this
So,
works? I mean, do you think this is the best way for Dow Corning at that time, to realize the most value of the company
well,
by having this?
yes, it absolutely was. But that was the realization that the customer knows more.
Oh.
Okay, that was the whole exercise and the reason for it. The customer knows more.
Okay.
And it's true.
It is true. But
So,
it is always true, or it was true that time, but then, when, and I think another assumption is the chemistry meet all the needs. All you need is customer tune the applications, the formulations.
yeah, for the large volume end uses for silicones, it was a truism to say that the customer knows more about how to use it than Dow Corning does.
Okay.
And being in tech service for almost 10 years, I would have to agree with that wholeheartedly.
Okay.
The customer tended to know more about how to use it than I did based on my lab bench experience.
Yeah.
And I've heard that from so many different companies that I believe
It is
a truism.
Yeah.
And that's why the second tier companies do so well. They're constantly talking to their better customers, and they know what their better customers are asking for.
Okay. I see. Okay. Well, but I guess it's for Dow Corning, the margin they are going to get by having technical service doesn't justify the resource they have to put in.
That's what they found out.
That's why they gave up the opportunity to this second tier.
That's right.
Okay. Okay.
And it made for great business in the second tier, and there were more opportunities than what we had resources to service.
Wow. But do you think Dow Corning or a company like that size can still gain some growth in this area than just selling this standard product?
Not anymore.
No.
I mean, they're selling those products through distribution, and the Univars of the world have the technical expertise to recommend products based on better performance. They'll sample 10, 15 different products and let the end user sort it out.